So, today we will continue our study in this urban ecosystem, and our discussion point majorly will be urban ecosystem functions, and we will also continue with certain parts of the processes. So, before going for today's lecture, let us try to first remember what we have done previously. You remember we have discussed about ecosystem, then ecology and its different levels of ecological organizations. We discussed scope and importance of ecology. We discussed ecology and ecosystem. Then we came back to understand the ecosystem in detail through the verticals of structural and functional units. And we ended previous lecture with a very nice example of the natural ecosystem. In that we have tried to identify all those discussion points. So what today we are planning to cover together, we are going to do the ecosystem functions. We will discuss some of the good examples of ecosystem function. Then we will be going for the ecosystem process, and the last thing today we will be discussing, that is the system states of ecosystem. So, what is ecosystem function? Please, you have to remember all this terminology and their definite scope. Ecosystem functions are the roles or services that ecosystem processes provide. These functions are benefits that result from the interactions and processes occurring within an ecosystem. You remember the functional units when we discussed, we put that pressure on that phrases on interactions and processes. So, these functions are the benefits that result from those interactions and processes occurring within an ecosystem. Ecosystem functions play a very important role like support lives, maintain the ecosystem stability, ecological balance and biodiversity, and provide ecosystem services to human. You have to always remember that we human beings are always interested in those areas where we have our own interest being met. So, for that only we take lot of interest in today's time into the ecosystem functions. So, if we try to understand ecosystem function, always it is better to go through certain examples. So, what we will do today, we will take very important 6 ecosystem functions and we will discuss them one by one. First one is the primary production, second one is the nutrient retention and recycling, the third one will be the soil formation and maintenance, and the fourth one is the water purification, fifth is the climate regulation, and the sixth one is the pollination. So, one by one we will be discussing all these functions, and it will be interesting to always note that there will be several ecosystem processes involved into it. So, let us go forward. First one, as we said, that we will be discussing the primary production as the function. So, primary production is the process by which organisms, mainly plants, algae and some bacteria, the producers, you remember, they convert solar energy into chemical energy via photosynthesis. And this is the foundation of the food web for the entire world, as it produces the organic matter that feeds other organisms of different trophic levels. So, the process is involved is the very important one, that is the photosynthesis. Plants, algae, cyanobacteria, they use the sunlight and CO2 available in the atmosphere and water to produce two important things, glucose and oxygen. Both are equally important. Without glucose, biomass cannot keep on growing. Without oxygen, we cannot go for respiration. So, let us see a very simple formula for it. 6 units of CO2 gets entrapped, 6 units of water molecule in presence of light, that is the solar energy. In presence of light, they get entrapped together, they react, and this chemical reaction brings back to this C6H12O6, a single unit of glucose. and 6 units of oxygen. As I mentioned, both of them are very important for the living organisms on earth. So what happens, as we discussed, that primary production is actually having one process, that is the photosynthesis process, and out of that we get the glucose as well as the oxygen. Now we have to again rediscuss those terms which we have done in the previous class as well, that is the gross primary production, net primary production, that is gross is the total amount of energy captured via photosynthesis, and net means the energy remaining after plants use some of the energy for their respiration and other met activities. Met activities are much more eminent, prominent in other trophic levels. So, the difference between them, as I said, there will be a delta, and that is important to understand. NPP represents the energy available to consumers in the ecosystem in next level, and that is the trophic level uh, differentiations comes from. So, once we have been through with the primary production, next thing we will come the next function, that is nutrient retention and recycling. Nutrient cycling is the movement and transformation of nutrients through the ecosystem, which ensure the availability of essential elements for plant and animal growth. The processes involve nitrogen cycle, carbon cycle, phosphorus cycle. Nitrogen cycle, that includes nitrogen fixation, conversion of nitrogen to ammonia, nitrification, conversion of ammonia to nitrate, and assimilation, uptake by plants. That is important, bringing this abiotic into the living system. And lastly, the denitrification, conversion of nitrates back to nitrogen. In the carbon cycle, similarly, we can look at the different processes like photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, and fossilization. Fossilization we are very much interested with because this provides us all the energy sources. Coal. Carbon is exchanged between the atmosphere, biosphere, oceans, and geosphere. So, those exchanges continuously are happening. And the last one, which is the sedimentary thing we get out of this cycle, that is the phosphate ions. Phosphorus moves through the rocks, water, soil, and organisms. Weathering of rocks release phosphate ions which are taken up by the plants and moved through the food web. So, the rocks are actually having that sedimented phosphates. The third one we will go forward, that is the soil formation and the maintenance, creation and preservation of soil through organic matter, decomposition and mineral weathering. You remember that we talked about this soil as one of the most important abiotic elements. What are the processes involved? Decomposition, microbial decomposition and detritivores. Decomposition is the breakdown of dead organic matter by decomposers like bacteria, fungi and detritivores. The process recycles nutrients back into the ecosystem and making them available for primary producers. So, very important for the plants to get these nutrients back. Even in agriculture, this is very important. Microbial decomposition is the next particular process we will discuss, that is microorganisms break down into organic matters releasing nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus for the cycle. Detritivores, organisms like earthworms and insects consume dead material, further breaking it down. So, that's the way this cycle keeps on moving. Now, we will come to our very known water purification function. Natural filtration of water through wetlands and soil, removing contaminants. That's the natural way. So, process of water cycling, that's the process, hydrological cycle, which involves continuous movement of water between atmosphere, land and oceans. And I can keep on giving you all these explanations, but I think at least let us first go through the processes in a cycle. Transpiration, evaporation, condensation, precipitation, interception, infiltration, percolation, runoff, and then the storage. And from the storage again the transpiration and the evaporation happens. What is transpiration? Plants are releasing the vapor through leaves, that's a transpiration. What happens to the water bodies, even the soils, they also now give back the vapor, that is through evaporation. Condensation. These water molecules which are in the atmosphere, they start forming the clouds, that is the condensation. We need certain aerosols or molecules to start with this process. Precipitation, through rain, snow, sleet, hail, we get back that water, that is the precipitation. Interception is a very interesting process. We will discuss it later on also, this interception. It is nothing but interrupting the water movement. When it is raining, let's say there is a very good, nice, mature tree, all its leaves will try to take this water on its leaves and will take some time to give it to the down ground. So, this interception is actually very important process because it helps in transpiration and it also helps in bringing the runoff slightly delayed. So, the chain of transportation events leading to the streams, that is slightly interrupted, and that is important. Infiltration, it's a physical process of water movement through boundary area of where the atmosphere interfaces with the soil. So, there is a very distinct difference between infiltration and percolation. Even if infiltration happens, percolation may or may not happen. Percolation is the movement of water through soil and its different layers by gravity and capillary forces. So, it is very important for the aquifers to have the percolation as well with the infiltration. Runoff, whatever cannot infiltrate, cannot go for the percolation as a next process, it can move over the land and returning to the water bodies and eventually to the ocean, that is the runoff. And what is getting stored in the atmosphere or on the surface on the earth, like pond, like lake, even the streams. So, these are the stores and we are having the storage. So, through this process, especially through the percolation, infiltration, transpiration, evaporation, water purification is naturally happening. Nature takes care of it. So, now we will come to the climate regulation. The fifth one, very important in today's time, almost every day in the news we can see something related to the climate. So, let us see the important function, climate regulation. Regulation of local and global climate through carbon sequestration and the temperature modulation. Again, several processes are involved into this very complex job of climate regulation, like photosynthesis, carbon uptake, that is important. CO2 from the atmosphere is getting sequestered. So, CO2 component gets reduced. Respiration decomposition, CO2, methane, both are increasing then in the ground, in the ecosystem, wherever this decomposition is happening. Soil and vegetation, carbon storage is happening. It's very important in today's time to understand this sequestration. Albedo and land cover, the more we change the land cover, we change the albedo. Albedo means the radiation you are receiving, the sun is sending us and earth is sending it back. In between the delta, the difference, that is the albedo. And solar radiation balance, for that albedo is one of the most important factor through which we try to understand that. And land cover, if you change the land cover, the albedo will change. Evapotranspiration, the last one is the cooling rainfall patterns that gets controlled by the evapotranspirations. Soil can do it, the plants can do it. The next two are very important, biogenic emissions. Emissions can come from the cars also, but they are not biogenic. In the ecosystem, natural ecosystem, also the biogenic emissions are continuously happening. That gaseous form I was telling you about. Cloud formation happens. Oceanic biological PAM, it takes care of long-term carbon dioxide sequestration where ocean takes a very important role. The last ecosystem function I would like to discuss with you, that's the pollination. One of the most soft tasks probably nature does and provides us such a pleasure through this particular function. Transfer of pollen by insects, birds and other animals, essential for the reproduction of many plants. Floral traits, like we also like the flowers, then the other pollinators also are attracted. The insects are attracted. That's the floral traits. That has to be processed. That's a process. Pollinator foraging. Pollen is getting collected by these insects. That's the pollinator foraging. Pollen transfer. Now the pollen is getting transferred from one plant to the another flowering plant. That's the fertilization happens. Plant reproduction is a process. Seeds and fruits we get out of it. Pollinator habitat and life cycle. I think now today's time we always look for that type of trees which can attract much more number of birds. So we try to look at the fruits or flowers, that type of trees are always getting a priority in our landscape projects. So sustained pollination services are important. Landscape connectivity, gene flow and ecosystem resilience. This is a very important one, landscape connectivity, so that it is not only physical connectivity in particular time scale, it is also continuously happening in a time scale. So with change also, this particular ecosystem can sustain itself. So this is very important. Biotic and abiotic factor, we are continuously discussing these two. These modulates all the above processes. So now we come to the conclusion of this ecosystem function, and you can see this is a table where we have tried to tabulate the information, all those 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 functions which I have discussed right now, and against them you see the different processes. Let me take the process against the number 4, climate regulation. Photosynthesis, respiration, decomposition, evapotranspiration, biogenic emission, oceanic biological form. Can you see the photosynthesis? So photosynthesis is a process which is also happening for the production. So the same process can happen for different type of functions as well. Water purification we discussed, pollination we discussed. So that way any function will always take advantage of several processes most of the time, and same process can be part of several functions as well. So if our understanding of the ecosystem functions are clear, now we are fully ready for our next stage, that is ecosystem process understanding. Is it okay? So now let us go for ecosystem process. Ecosystem processes are the natural, physical, chemical, biological actions or events that link organisms and their environment. We talked about these organisms, both biotic and the abiotic components within an ecosystem. So the processes are actually having those interactions. So the processes are seen as the complex interactions among biotic and abiotic elements. In broad term, material cycles, flow of energy, flow of nutrients. If we try to understand ecosystem processes better, we can see that how different scientists have tried to interpret and classify them. They can be classified like core ecosystem processes, beneficial ecosystem processes. Core ecosystem processes bring the production, decomposition, nutrient and water cycling under it. Beneficial ecosystem processes are the biomass production, pollination, biological control, habitat and waste assimilation. So there will be several key ecosystem processes which we need to know, we need to discuss, like photosynthesis, nutrient recycling, energy flow, water cycle, decomposition, respiration, herbivory and carnivory succession. We will be discussing it in our successive classes. Today we will discuss another very important and interesting aspect of this ecosystem, which is actually having the very strong base which we have already discussed. So today we will be discussing system states of ecosystem and their change with time. I think by now we have quite well understood that time is a very important factor in understanding the ecosystem, because ecosystem is a dynamic entities. It changes over time, and due to various natural and human induced factors, its manifestations also changes. The state of ecosystem and their changes can be understood through concepts. Concepts like ecological succession, I am bringing ecological succession again and again because, as I said, it's a very important concept. Today we will also discuss disturbances, resilience, tipping points and regime shifts. Before going into the details of it, let us understand from this image that what is these systems and their state of ecosystem. The first one in this image, this actually talks about a positive transient growth. It's an ecosystem which is having a positive traits and it's growing. So we can see the pattern like this. In the steady state, it has come to the climax. So it has already grown and it is now in a balanced state. So it will continue to maintain this balanced state for some time. So we can see that here. And what happens, like any natural system is having a decay, that particular ecosystem will also have a negative transient state, aging system. So gradually it will, here we have seen it was expanding, here we will see it is contracting. It is trying to come to a smaller and smaller shape, sizes and health, and the pattern is also going down. So this system states of ecosystem, if we have to understand, as I said, we will be discussing several concepts. First one is the ecological succession. Under ecological succession, you have to understand two different type of successions which happens. The first one is the primary one, which is the series of community changes that occur on an entirely new habitat that has never been colonized before, like a newly quarried rock face or sand dunes. Nothing was there, something will start there. The establishment of a new biotic community is generally very slow. You can see in this image, this is a barren landscape and primary succession, there was nothing here. So very slowly with time something is coming up from this pioneer to intermediate to climax, that balanced. And after that the decay will be there, maybe due to some disturbances or some other reasons. What is the secondary one? Secondary succession begins in areas where natural biotic communities have been destroyed, such as in the abundant farmland or burned, or forests have been, deforestation happened, or lands that have been flooded. Since some soil or sediment is present, succession is faster than the primary. So let's say something has happened here, then we will see again the intermediate community will come back, and then again it will go for the climax community. Next thing we will be discussing the disturbances, as we have discussed it prior. Natural disturbances, it can be like fires, storms, floods or droughts. After any of this event, the ecosystem states can be altered. These events can remove organisms, can change the source availability and create new habitats. Human induced disturbances, activities like deforestation, pollution, then urbanization, climate changes can drastically impact ecosystems, leading to changes in species composition, structure and function. Here you can just look at this particular good example where the disturbance is happening, then how the things are changing and the resilient stability is going to be achieved, reached again. But I would also like to bring one very interesting example of this after disturbance, how the secondary succession can happen. Probably you have heard in 1986 Chernobyl that nuclear disaster happened. Very recently, the scientists, only few scientists are allowed to visit those places. They could see that some organisms have come back. It's a very first trait of life there, and they are so very excited. So you can say it's a secondary one, but it's such a disturbed ecosystem, nobody expected that life will come back, but it may come back. So it's important to understand this resilience, which provides that ability to come back. The ability of an ecosystem to absorb disturbances and still maintains its basic structure and functions. Resilient ecosystems can recover from disturbances more quickly and effectively. Factors affecting resilience, biodiversity, habitat if they are connected, and the presence of keystone species which can come back easily can all influence an ecosystem resilience. The last points, few more points are tipping points, critical threshold where a small change in environmental conditions can lead to a dramatic shift in the ecosystem state. So once the tipping point is being reached by that ecosystem, it will be changed. So once that is crossed, ecosystem may undergo regime shift. So Greenland ice is getting melted, it is no more Greenland. Lake is having this eutrophication, then there will be no such lake ecosystem existing. Water scarcity in the cities are bringing a very different type of changes into the system, management system. They may belong to completely different type of interlinkages like climate and earth system. Lake is an ecosystem and water scarcity is a socio-ecological system. Like that, we can see the regime shifts can also happen continuously in the nature also. Large persistent changes in the structure and function of an ecosystem, like coral reef shifts to algal dominated state for overfishing and pollution, savanna to forest transition due to fire suspension or increased rainfall, urban heat island escalation. Again, we can go for climate earth system, the ecosystem and the socio-ecological system. So, they are the examples of these three different systems. So, lastly, system states of ecosystem and their changes with time. We can look at the forest ecosystem, aquatic system, coastal ecosystem. Each one of them, if we can look at, they can have the succession, they can have a tipping point, they can actually have a regime shift. So, this process is what I was discussing. It may happen and they can change their state. So, this primary succession and the secondary succession, this example we can discuss in our next class in details, but let us also understand how to monitor changes in these ecosystem states. Remote sensing and GIS. So, technologies are helping a lot in understanding the ecosystem states to monitor, and we can also manage ecosystem states, especially the changes through conservation practice, through climate change mitigation approaches. So, these are several activities, actions we can take once we understand that okay, these states are now going towards the tipping point or regime shifts are going to happen. So, understanding and managing ecosystem states and their changes are crucial for diversity, biodiversity conservation, sustainable development and human well-being. So, today we have discussed ecosystem functions, examples of ecosystem functions, ecosystem processes, system states of ecosystem, and we will continue from this point later on. And these are the references, please go through these references which has helped today's discussion possible. With this, I thank you.